Hello you fantastic people, and welcome back to Borderlands 3, another legendary video for you guys today. This one, the Agonizer 9000, a highly requested boss that I farmed 50 times on True Vault Hunter mode, Mayhem 4. Essentially, this series started off looking for the Mayhem 4 dedicated drops, as well as to test all the named bosses with Mayhem 4 drop rates of just legendary items, how many world drops they drop, as well as anointed items, class mods, artifacts, all the things we're all looking for in the game. So by the end of it, we'll know the most efficient bosses to go for if we want anointed weapons, if we want class mods, artifacts, and so on. Also, just quickly, I do know that there are dedicated drops for non-specific Mayhem 4. We're not testing those yet. The community has pretty much found all of them, I believe. I will be covering them all eventually once I'm finished with this series. I will be testing them myself, checking out and seeing the drop rates for you guys, and I'll be making videos on those. I'll just wait till after this series though, because this is taking the longest of times. It's been 2 weeks and we're not even finished yet. But once we finish this series, if the community has not found all the dedicated drops, I will be testing out all the named bosses again on just normal Vault Hunter, no Mayhem modifiers, to test if we can find any of them for ourselves. For example, I'm sure the Agonizer 9000 himself probably has several dedicated legendary drops because he's one of the bigger named bosses in the game. So for today's build for the Agonizer 9000, there is plenty of different ways to kill the Agonizer. He's actually not too bad of a Mayhem 4 boss, at least in my opinion. My build was working pretty damn easily. I'm going to show you guys the new Execute Mayhem 4 pistol that we got from General Traunt a few days ago, and I think it was Friday's video. I'm going to show that one in action just because I said I was going to in the video on Friday. But of course you don't need that one, it is just for funsies essentially. The Cutsman is an absolutely amazing gun for this one. If you guys have a Cutsman, it absolutely shreds through him. I was using the Bang Stick and the Unforgiven trick a lot because it's just super easy at shredding all of them, and when you're farming them 50 times, you just want the fastest way. I was playing around at the start with all my different weapons. Did use my laser splitter a lot, my Lucian's Call. It's just not that high damage, but it does work if you guys have a Lucian's Call. I also used a whole bunch of my embroidered Ghast Calls, so if you guys have a Ghast Call, that works really well. I did end up opting for my Tina's Hibbity Hobbiter because it's anointed, so whenever I throw one, it increases my skill damage, my grenade damage, and my weapon damage. I essentially just unloaded all my Bang Stick, switched to the Unforgiven, threw a grenade, and I just went ham. Of course, you don't need any of these amazing legendary weapons, Unforgiven tricks, or amazing anointments if you want to farm the Agonizer. He's actually pretty easy, especially on the scale of Mayhem 4 bosses. If you guys just have any decent corrosive weapon, it'll work a charm. As for skill tree, I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same as Friday's video. I won't run through my skill tree, but if you guys want to check it out, you're more than welcome to pause it and check it out for yourselves. It's essentially high damage, crit damage, and getting my fit away back as fast as possible, and it works perfectly for me. Now, I just have a few runs showing on screen so you guys can check out my strat. Essentially, it's pretty simple. It's essentially just going to fade away, absolutely unload with the Bang Stick, switch to the Unforgiven, throw a grenade, and repeat. Once it gets down to the blue health, it is super easy. You just hit him in that purple little iridium orb thing, and pretty much any weapon you use will absolutely shred him. It's essentially just the armor you have to get through eventually. His crit hit spots, they break super easy, so you essentially just have to aim for a variety of them. With my Bang Stick, I just essentially sprayed everywhere. He has unfortunately a lot of glitches, I guess is what you'd call. Once you hit him in a particular spot too many times, he just stops taking damage. I don't get what's with it. If parts of him break off, he won't take damage for the rest of the bullets. It's very confusing. But if you guys farm him yourself, I'm sure you'll be able to work it out pretty quick. It is just kind of weird how he works. But while you guys are enjoying the action, I shall read through the stats for you guys. The Agonizer 9000 dropped an absolute record amount of legendary items. 157 legendary items on a Mayhem 4 True Vault Hunter mode out of 50 runs. Absolutely amazing amount. Second is Rampager at 153 and Grave Ward, the original MVP for legendary items, at 147. So new #1 spot for absolute world drop capacity is the Agonizer 9000. As for the anointed weapons, he did okay. Considering the amount he dropped, I would have expected more. He only dropped 15 out of the 50 runs. The current #1 spot for anointed weapons for my testing is Troy at 25, Gigamind taking the second spot with 22 anointed legendaries out of the 50 runs, and Tyrene at #3 with 20 anointed legendaries. Out of the three, I'd probably recommend Gigamind the most because he's just super easy to kill, super fast farm, and the amount of legendary anointeds you'd get out of the amount of time you're putting into farming would be way better for Gigamind because Troy is just a much longer fight and he's got immunity stages, etc. As for artifacts, the Agonizer 9000 did okay. He dropped 16 artifacts. I think that brings him in at #4. The Rampager is currently the #1 spot if you guys are going for artifacts. He dropped 22 for me out of the 50 runs. Tyrene is in second place with 19. And Grave Ward and General Trout are tied for third place at 17. So the Agonizer is pretty close. He's only one behind the third spot. But where he absolutely shined today was 25 class mods out of the 50 runs, which is absolutely crazy. Every second run, essentially, he was dropping a class mod. I think that's tied in with the event they had in October for their anniversary. The Agonizer was supposed to have an increased chance to drop class mods for a week. I tested it out on the week and that was absolute rubbish. He barely dropped any. I don't know if you guys experienced that as well, but I just couldn't get anything from him. So maybe now that they have kept that increase turned up, in Mayhem 4 he's absolutely outclassing everyone. For example, the second place, the original #1 was Rampager at 17 class mods, which is 8 less. And now third place, Gravy, who was once the MVP for class mods, is only got 16. So I definitely recommend, if you guys are looking for class mods, the Agonizer 9000 is definitely the place to farm. As for unsuccessful runs, we actually only had one run in which we didn't get a singular legendary item, which is absolutely amazing. He's taken the #1 spot for successful runs consecutively. The only other one that comes close is Grave Ward with 2 unsuccessful runs. So both of them obviously have a high amount of legendary drops because they're dropping a lot and they drop it pretty much every single time, which is awesome. Now my biggest problem with the Agonizer 9000 today, he had 10 items glitched through the ground. I think I have a clip of it. If I do, I'll play it on screen. But essentially, he just randomly drops things. He throws them all in one pile, but some of them just fall through. I think it's because it's a weird floor and there's a few spots where they can just essentially just fall through and just keep falling through the map, which is of course super annoying because I worked hard for those legendaries, and if I was a particular one that I wanted, that's super annoying because it just fell through the ground. Now if you guys are worried about this happening to you and you guys want to farm the Agonizer 9000, a trick you can do, or a method you can do, is empty your lost loot. Anything that falls to the ground will end up there. I personally could not be bothered doing that because mine is always full given the amount of legendaries I farm, but that of course is a way you can get around doing that if you would like to. I personally just think it's super annoying that I would have to do that. I'd rather they just fix the floor so they stop falling through the floor, but alas, we'll have to deal with it until they fix it. Now as for dedicated drops on Mayhem 4, unfortunately the Agonizer 9000 dropped absolutely 0 new items in Borderlands 3. If you guys didn't know, there is actually brand new weapons that have been brought out for Mayhem 4. If you guys have watched one of these videos before, I will have explained it, but if you guys are new to the series, there are brand new weapons that came out for the Mayhem 4 update, and you can only obtain them in Mayhem 4. Can't get them in Mayhem 1, 2, or 3. Doesn't matter if you're in True Vault Hunter mode or normal mode. I just am in True Vault Hunter mode to make things more difficult for myself, because why not? But so far, I believe we found 3 or 4 of these Mayhem 4 dedicated drops. For example, the Execute pistol I was talking about at the start of this video is one of those, and it was found from General Trout after I tested him 50 times. But yes, unfortunately, the Agonizer doesn't have one of those drops from my testing, and I did search after my testing. Couldn't find it on the internet, so it looks like he does not have one, unfortunately. Now, of course, like I usually do with all the videos in this series, I will leave a comment pinned to the top of the comment section, which will have my full list of the legendaries that I wrote down from every single run in order of each particular run, so you guys can check that list out if you would like. And as always, if you guys are missing any Borderlands 3 legendary weapons and you cannot find them because RNG sucks and you've been farming forever, you're more than welcome to comment down below or just reply to that pinned comment and say, hey, I'm looking for this legendary weapon or shield, etc. I've been farming for ages, can't get it. If I have any spares, I'm on PS4 by the way. If you guys are on PC or Xbox, feel free to comment anyway. There's plenty of people in the comment section who are happy to trade. But if I personally have spares and you're on PS4, I'll reply and say, hey, I've got this, add me, and I'll send it on through because I don't need the 4,000 legendaries. Pretty sure I have like 15 split screen accounts and like my bank is full of duplicate weapons that I'm happy to send away because I just don't need them all. But yeah, that is 50 kills of the Agonizer 9000 on True Vault Hunter mode Mayhem 4 for our dedicated drop testing and our just legendary drop testing in general. If you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, feel free to smash subscribe down below. Thank you so much for the amazing support of this series. I think we've gained 3,000 subscribers in 2 weeks, which is not only just a record for me, it's absolutely mind-blowing, and I actually hasn't really sunk in yet, but thank you very much. You guys are absolutely awesome. If you guys want to share the video with your friends and or grandmas and help the channel grow even more beyond belief, that would be fantastic. And yeah, other than that, I shall see you guys in the next video. Till then, have a fantastic day and adios.